Archaeology is not just about digging up and dusting off ancient ruins and relics. According to experts, it also helps build the future we want to see. Archaeological discoveries, no matter how big or small, help us better understand the people who came before us, how their world worked, and the choices that shape the world we live in today. But not every discovery comes with a clear explanation. Some are so strange and so difficult to understand that even science has yet to fully explain them. And in this video, we're taking a look at exactly those kinds of discoveries. So, let's begin this list with number 15, the footprints that shouldn't exist according to official history. Humans have been living in Europe for hundreds of thousands of years. But what if someone told you that human-like footprints discovered in Greece could push that story back by millions of years? It sounds impossible. Yet that's exactly why the Trachelos footprints continue to divide scientists. The story began in 2002 when Polish paleontologist Gerard Gierliski was walking along the coast near the small village of Trachelos on the island of Crete. As the tide pulled away, it exposed a slab of ancient sandstone covered with dozens of footprints. They had 5 toes, a human-like arch, and a forward-pointing big toe features far closer to our own feet than to those of modern apes. When the discovery was finally published in 2017, it sparked worldwide debate. Dating later placed the prints at around 6 million years old, making them roughly as old as the earliest known human ancestors from Africa. If they truly belonged to an early biped, they could force scientists to rethink one of humanity's oldest origin stories. Number 14. The library that history tried to erase. We all know about the Book of Enoch, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the super infamous Voynich manuscript. But one of the greatest collections of ancient books ever discovered wasn't found in a museum or beneath the ruins of a famous city. It was hidden inside a simple clay jar in the Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi. In 1945, a local farmer named Muhammad Ali al-Salman stumbled across it while digging, and what he found would leave historians stunned. Inside were 12 leather-bound papyrus codices containing 52 ancient writings, many of which had never been seen before. Most belonged to the Gnostics, which is an early Christian movement whose books were declared heretical and ordered destroyed by Bishop Athanasius in 367 AD. Somehow, this collection survived that fate. Someone had hidden it away, hoping it would survive the centuries. Among its pages were forgotten Gospels, accounts connected to Christ's apostles, and other writings that sometimes echo the Bible and sometimes tell a very different story. That's exactly why the Nag Hammadi Library remains one of archaeology's most fascinating discoveries, still raising questions that science and history haven't fully answered. Number 13. The darkest mass grave. In Bronze Age Britain, humans have been killing each other since the beginning of civilization. You can read about it in the Bible, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and countless other ancient records. But those are stories passed down through words. This one was written in bone, hidden beneath the Mendip Hills in southwest England. The Charterhouse Warren massacre pit looked like nothing more than a narrow limestone shaft until archaeologists examined what had been thrown into it. Although the bones were first recovered during the 1970s, it wasn't until a major 2024 study published in Antiquity, led by Rick Schulting and colleagues, that the full picture came into focus. More than 3,000 bone fragments belonging to at least 37 people, men, women, and children, dated to around 2200–2000 BC were found at the bottom. Many skulls showed fatal blows, bodies had been cut apart, and long bones were broken open exactly as people broke animal bones to remove marrow. Some even carried possible human tooth marks. Whether this was revenge, fear driven by plague, or something else entirely, nobody knows for certain. But it's super scary. Number 12. The walls that still defy engineers. Some walls are built to keep enemies out. Others leave the entire world wondering how they were built in the first place. Just outside the Peruvian city of Cusco stands Sacsayhuam, one of the greatest engineering puzzles of the ancient world. Built by the Inca, its huge stone walls are made from massive boulders cut into irregular shapes that fit together so perfectly you can't slide a knife blade between them. No mortar was used, yet the walls have survived powerful earthquakes that destroyed much newer buildings nearby. That precision alone has puzzled researchers for generations. One idea, proposed by Dr. Derek Cunningham, suggests the angles of the stones may reflect astronomical knowledge based on the movements of the sun and moon, perhaps even preserving information once used to predict eclipses. Whether that theory proves correct or not, one question remains unanswered. How did the Inca shape, transport, and position stones weighing many tons with such accuracy, using tools that, according to history, should never have made it possible? Did they know something we don't? Number 11. The devil never left these footprints well. The name devil might not sound very scientific, but sometimes legends begin with something people simply couldn't explain. For centuries, villagers living near Italy's Roccamonfina volcano believed only the devil could have walked across scorching volcanic ash and survived. That's why they called the trail Ciampate del Diavolo, the devil's footprints. The mystery remained a local legend until researchers carefully examined the site in the early 2000s. What they found was far more fascinating than folklore. More than 50 ancient footprints, along with a remarkably preserved handprint, were pressed into hardened volcanic ash dating back roughly 350 to 385,000 years. Scientists believe they were left by Homo heidelbergensis, an ancient human ancestor, carefully making their way down the unstable volcanic slope. The footprints even reveal how the walkers zigzagged downhill to keep their balance, while one individual reached out with a hand to steady themselves. But not everyone agrees on why they crossed the volcano in the first place. So, were they escaping an eruption? Number 10. The child who walked with a wolf. Some discoveries answer old questions. Others leave you with even bigger ones. Deep inside Chauvet Cave in southern France, famous for its breathtaking Ice Age paintings, archaeologists found something that no one expected. About 600 meters from the cave's entrance, preserved in soft clay, was a trail of roughly 70 barefoot footprints left by a child around 8 to 10 years old, nearly 26,000 years ago. Beside those footprints was another trail, this one belonging to a large canid. Whether it was a wolf or an early proto-dog remains a mystery. If it really was a proto-dog walking alongside the child, it could push the story of dog domestication back by thousands of years. Others believe it was a wild wolf crossing the cave at another time. Like the cave paintings themselves, the footprints remain sealed away, leaving scientists to study detailed 3D models while the real mystery stays exactly where it has rested for thousands of years. Number 9. The mummies that weren't one person. Egypt is not the only place where you can find mummies. Well, sure, Egyptians were famous for preserving their dead, but they certainly weren't alone. On the Scottish island of South Uist, archaeologists excavating beneath Bronze Age roundhouses expected to find ordinary burials. Instead, they uncovered one of Europe's strangest archaeological discoveries. Research led by Mike Parker Pearson showed that the bodies had first been placed inside acidic peat bogs, where the chemistry naturally slowed decay, before being removed and kept above ground. But that wasn't the biggest surprise. Careful examination revealed the male skeleton had been assembled from the remains of at least 3 different people, while the female body was also a combination of several unrelated individuals. Radiocarbon dating showed some of those bones were separated by hundreds of years, and DNA analysis confirmed they never belonged to the same family member. Even more remarkable, The completed bodies appear to have remained above ground for around 300 to 600 years before finally being buried around 1100 BC. Why create ancestors from several different people? That's a question science still can't fully answer. Number 8. The cave where humans became the meal. We like to believe that cannibalism belonged only to desperate moments or frightening legends. Ancient stories, from mythology to folklore, certainly make it seem that way. But archaeology sometimes tells a far harsher story. Inside Masyka Cave in Poland, human bones discovered during the 19th century sat quietly in museum collections for more than 100 years. Then, in 2025, researchers re-examined them using advanced three-dimensional microscopy. The results were difficult to ignore. Dating to about 18,000 years ago, the remains belonged to at least 10 people, including 4 children. Nearly 70% of the bones carried unmistakable cut marks showing skinning, dismemberment, removal of the brain, and broken long bones where marrow had been extracted. The butchery matched exactly how Ice Age hunters processed animal carcasses, strongly suggesting these people had been eaten rather than ceremonially buried. Similar evidence has also been found at sites like Gough's Cave in England, raising a chilling question. Was cannibalism far more common during the last Ice Age than anyone once believed? Number 7. The only church with Jesus. You'd think that if archaeologists found more than 20 medieval churches in the same place, they'd all have one thing in common. After all, what is a church without an image of Jesus? Strangely enough, that's exactly what puzzled researchers at Trapezica Fortress, once the capital of Bulgaria's Second Empire. During excavations in 2018, archaeologists found another small 13th century church. At first, it didn't seem very different from the others. Then, the walls began revealing their secrets. Unlike every other church discovered at the fortress, this one still preserved beautifully painted murals showing human figures. Among them were 3 haloed figures, including what experts identified as Jesus. The church itself was modest, measuring only about 4 by 10 meters, and proof suggests it served ordinary workers rather than nobles, which raises an obvious question. If the elite worshipped elsewhere, why did this small parish become the only known church at Trapezica to receive artwork that everyone else seemingly went without? Number 6. The day Pompeii changed history. Most people think history is settled once it's written down. But sometimes, one small discovery is enough to rewrite a story that has been accepted for centuries. That's exactly what happened at Pompeii. For years, historians believed Mount Vesuvius buried the Roman city on August 24th, AD 79, a date supported by ancient written accounts and archaeological evidence. It seemed beyond question. Then, in 2018, archaeologists found a simple charcoal inscription on the wall of a house undergoing renovation. Written by a worker, it mentioned what translates to October 17. That single note created an obvious problem. If people were still working in Pompeii during October, the city couldn't have been destroyed back in August. The discovery forced historians to reconsider one of the most familiar dates in Roman history. Today, most experts agree that the eruption happened later than previously believed, but the exact day the city was buried beneath volcanic ash remains unknown. Number 5. The woman from Tabun. Long before history was ever written down, there were people whose stories could only be told through the ground beneath our feet. One of them is the Tabun woman. Her remains were found in 1932 inside Tabun Cave on Israel's Mount Carmel during excavations led by British archaeologist Dorothy Garrod. Many historians also credit a local Palestinian excavator named Yusra, who worked alongside Garrod with making the remarkable discovery. Before the skeleton was removed, every detail was carefully photographed exactly where it rested. Those images became priceless because they preserved the body's original position, the surrounding sediment, and details that disappeared forever once the bones were lifted. The skeleton, known as Tabun C1, is generally identified as a female Neanderthal or a closely related Levantine human. Yet her true age remains one of archaeology's longest-running debates, with estimates ranging from about 130 to 50,000 years old. That difference could completely change our understanding of when Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens shared the Levant. The bones survived, but the burial context was lost forever, leaving scientists with questions they may never answer. Number 4. The head without a body. Almost every civilization has treated the human head as something special. You see it in ancient myths, religious traditions, and even old books describing trophies, ancestors, or sacred burials. But few discoveries are as difficult to explain as the one found at Lapa do Santo in Brazil. Archaeologists excavating the rock shelter uncovered a burial dating back about 9,000 years, making it the oldest known case of ritual decapitation in the Americas. Known as Burial 26, it contained a human skull with the first 6 neck vertebrae still attached, showing the head had been carefully removed using stone tools. Even stranger, 2 severed hands had been placed across the face, one crossing over the other in a deliberate, symmetrical arrangement. Studies published in 2015 showed the individual wasn't an outsider or defeated enemy. Strontium isotope analysis indicated the person belonged to the local community, suggesting this was part of an elaborate ritual rather than an execution. So, why were the head and hands arranged this way? Number 3. The tomb that ignored fashion. People have always liked keeping up with the latest styles. Ancient people were no different. That's why archaeologists were so surprised by what they found inside a 2,200-year-old tomb in Cumae, the oldest Greek settlement in the Western world. When the burial chamber was opened in 2018, it was clear that tomb robbers had already been there long before. Most of the valuables were gone. But they left behind something nobody expected: a colorful banquet fresco stretching across several walls, showing guests gathered around a feast, including a naked servant. It immediately stood out because every other tomb in the area had been decorated using only simple red and white paintings. Even stranger, the mural had been painted in a style that had gone out of fashion more than a century earlier. The family buried there could easily have chosen the artistic style of their own time, but instead they deliberately looked to the past. Number 2. The oldest footprints in Britain. A footprint doesn't lie. Unlike an ancient manuscript that can be rewritten or a legend that changes with every generation, a footprint captures a single moment exactly as it happened. That's why the discovery at Happisburgh stunned archaeologists. After a powerful winter storm stripped away layers of sand along England's Norfolk coast in 2013, researchers noticed dozens of footprints pressed into ancient estuary mud. They acted fast, photographing and creating 3D scans before the sea erased every trace just 2 weeks later. Dating showed the prints were between 850,000 and 950,000 years old, making them the oldest known human footprints ever found outside Africa. Around 50 prints were recorded, left by a small group that likely included both adults and children walking along a riverbank. Although no human bones were found, stone tools and the age of the site point to Homo antecessor, one of Europe's earliest human species. Today, the footprints themselves are gone forever. Only the digital record remains. Number 1. The sacred bog of the fallen. Every ancient battlefield has a story. The problem is, most of them were never written down. That's why discoveries like Alkanenge are so important. Hidden within a wetland in modern-day Denmark, archaeologists uncovered the remains of at least 82 people, all believed to have died in a single battle during the 1st century AD. More than 2,000 human bones were recovered alongside Iron Age weapons, leaving little doubt that a fierce conflict had taken place. But the real mystery began after the fighting ended. Instead of being left where they fell, Many of the dead were carefully arranged in deliberate patterns. Some bones were placed with stones, while others appear to have been tied to nearby trees. It suggests the bog wasn't the battlefield itself, but a sacred place where Germanic tribes returned to honor those who had died. Well, that's all from us. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.